Naomi had just buried her mother, the only friend she'd ever known. Her heart was heavy, her pockets empty, and the world suddenly felt too big for someone who had no one left to call home. She borrowed money to book the cheapest economy ticket back to the city, praying she'd find a way to start again. But life, in its strange, unpredictable way, had other plans. On that flight, something random, almost insignificant, happened. A simple act of kindness, one seat, one moment, would alter everything she thought she knew about destiny. Because that's the day Naomi met a billionaire heiress. And what began as a favor to an old woman on a crowded plane would soon change not just her life, but her family's forever. So sit tight and see how one unexpected gesture turned a poor girl's sorrow into a story the world would never forget. Naomi was just 25 and already felt 90. Her mother was gone. Her father had vanished years ago, leaving behind debts and shame. The insurance payout hadn't come, and the funeral costs had been borrowed. Even the ticket to fly back home after the burial was in haze. It was borrowed from her best friend, Tasha. Naomi's phone buzzed in her soaked purse. It was Tasha. "Go. Are you still standing in the rain? Your flight's in 3 hours." Naomi wiped her tears and forced a laugh. "I'm leaving now. And yes, I'll pay you back." "You better, or I'll sell that old suitcase of yours." Naomi smiled weakly. "Deal." She hung up, took one last look at the grave, and whispered, "Mama, I'll make you proud somehow." Then she walked toward the waiting taxi. At the airport, Naomi joined the long line of passengers shuffling toward the gate. The crowd was a mix of businessmen in suits, tired parents, and restless kids. Her economy ticket, seat 32B, was crumpled in her hand. She was one of the last aboard when she noticed an elderly woman struggling with her luggage at the entrance of the plane. The woman's son argued with the flight attendants, frustrated that they couldn't sit together. Naomi watched quietly before stepping forward. "Excuse me," she said gently. "You can take my seat. I don't mind switching." The flight attendant blinked. "Are you sure? You'll be separated from your assigned section." Naomi nodded. "It's okay. She needs it more than I do." The son sighed in relief. Thank you so much." Naomi smiled. "It's fine." The attendants exchanged a glance. A few minutes later, one returned, smiling. "Miss Brooks, thank you for your kindness. We'd like to upgrade you to business class. Please follow me." Naomi froze. Business class. She thought she misheard. But no. Her ticket was swapped, and suddenly she was being ushered into the front section of the plane, surrounded by wide leather seats and soft lights. She almost laughed. Her life had been a string of small misfortunes, but for once, something unexpected had gone right. She found her seat, 2A, and beside her sat a young woman in a gray hoodie, earbuds in, head turned toward the window. Naomi fumbled with her seat belt, trying not to look out of place. The woman turned and smiled politely. "First time flying business?" she asked. Naomi blushed. "That obvious." The woman chuckled. "I can always tell." She extended her hand. "Selena." "Naomi," she replied, shaking it nervously. Selena had calm eyes, warm but sharp, like someone used to reading people. Her nails were perfectly manicured, her accent refined. Yet she spoke casually, not like the women Naomi had seen on magazine covers. They began to talk. At first, about small things, the weather, the delays, the tasteless airplane food. But soon, their conversation deepened. Naomi mentioned losing her mother, working 2 part-time jobs, and her dream of finishing college. Selena listened quietly, no pity in her eyes, just understanding. "You're strong," Selena said softly. "Most people would have given up." "Giving up isn't an option when you don't have a choice," Naomi replied. Selena smiled. "I like that." They laughed through turbulence, shared stories about music, childhood, and dreams. For a few hours, Naomi forgot about everything. The debt, the grief, the exhaustion. She felt seen, maybe for the first time in years. When the plane finally touched down, Naomi stretched, grateful the flight was over. She waited for Selena, who seemed distracted now, typing something quickly on her phone. At the terminal, Naomi followed her toward the exit and froze. Outside, a fleet of black cars waited. Men in suits stood in line. One opened the door and bowed slightly. "Miss Vaughn, welcome back." Naomi's stomach dropped. Vaughn, as in Vaughn Global Industries, the billion-dollar empire. Cameras flashed as a few reporters shouted questions. Selena turned, saw the shock on Naomi's face, and smiled sheepishly. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want things to feel weird." Naomi stammered. You're that Selena Vaughn." "Unfortunately, yes." She laughed softly, then leaned closer. "And you're the only person who talked to me like a normal human being in months." Before Naomi could reply, Selena gestured to her driver. "We'll drop Miss Brooks off." Naomi panicked. No, you don't have to." Selena grinned. "Relax. My father's car has space." Moments later, Naomi sat in the back of a Rolls-Royce Phantom, staring out the window as the city lights blowed past. It didn't feel real. When they reached her neighborhood, a rough part of Newark, people turned to stare. Children paused their games. Neighbors whispered. The luxury car stopped in front of her faded apartment building. Selena stepped out and hugged her. "I'll call you soon, Naomi." Naomi could barely speak. "Thank you for everything." Selena smiled. "You deserve nice things, too." The car pulled away, leaving Naomi standing in the dim light, surrounded by whispers. Her father appeared from the shadows, reeking of alcohol. "Who was that?" "You running with rich people now," he sneered. She ignored him and went upstairs. Inside, she sat by the window, clutching her phone. The screen lit up with an unknown number. Asterisk Selena Vaughn asterisk K. Naomi. "Come to my engagement party this weekend. No excuses." Naomi's heart jumped. Before she could reply, another text came in, address sent. She exhaled slowly, staring at her cracked phone screen. The reflection showed tired eyes, hopeful eyes, the kind that still dared to dream. "Just for one night," she whispered. "Let me feel like I belong." That night, in the dark corners of the Vaughn estate, another woman read the same flight manifest, eyes narrowing. Asterisk Lana Pierce asterisk, Victor Vaughn's longtime assistant, had noticed Selena's new friend, a broke girl from Newark, somehow upgraded to business class. It didn't sit right with her. Naomi Brooks. Lana murmured to herself, her perfectly manicured fingers tapping on the keyboard. "Let's see who you really are." And just like that, fate had set two women on a collision course, one led by innocence, the other by envy. The Vaughn estate glittered like a living dream. Every chandelier shimmered like frozen fire. Every glass of champagne reflected 1,000 ambitions. Luxury cars lined the marble driveway as music spilled through the open doors of mansions so large it could swallow Naomi's entire neighborhood. Naomi Brooks stepped out of the taxi slowly, feeling like an imposter who'd wandered onto the wrong movie set. Her heart pounded beneath her mother's faded blue dress. The only jewelry she wore was a small silver chain with a dull pendant, the one her mother had given her the day before she died. A valet approached. "Invitation." She handed it over with trembling fingers. He scanned it, nodded, and gestured for her to enter. The moment Naomi stepped inside, the noise swallowed her whole. Laughter, music, and perfume mixed in a dizzying blur. "Naomi." She turned and saw Selena Vaughn gliding through the crowd in a flowing gold gown. The heiress's smile was radiant and real, and for a moment Naomi forgot the difference between their worlds. "You made it," Selena said, hugging her. "You look beautiful." Naomi laughed nervously. "You mean not completely out of place?" Selena grinned. "You're with me. You belong here." A photographer turned his camera toward them. Selena instinctively pulled Naomi close. "Flash!" The crowd noticed, whispering, "Who's that girl with Selena Vaughn?" Marcus Cole arrived next, tall, handsome, polished to perfection. He kissed Selena's cheek, then gave Naomi a smile that never touched his eyes. "So this is your famous plain friend," he said, voice smooth as glass. "Selena told me all about you." Naomi smiled politely. "Hopefully only good things." Marcus chuckled. "Depends on your definition of good." Selena swatted his arm. "Ignore him. He's had too much wine already." As they moved toward the ballroom, a woman watched from the second-floor balcony, elegant, poised, her expression unreadable. Lana appears to Victor Vaughn's longtime executive assistant, and the silent power behind his empire. She noted Naomi's simple dress, her nervous laugh, her proximity to Selina. The corners of her mouth tightened. Naomi tried to blend in, smiling politely as socialites discussed stocks, art, and philanthropy. She had never seen so much wealth in one room: gold-framed paintings, crystal vases, a live orchestra in the corner. Everything shimmered except her confidence. "I need air," she whispered to herself, and slipped out through the back doors into the garden. The night air was cool, scented with roses and pine. The garden stretched like a maze under the moonlight. She found a quiet bench near a fountain and sat down, exhaling. "Beautiful night," a deep voice said behind her. Naomi turned. An older man stood nearby, trimming a bonsai tree with slow precision. He wore plain clothes, his posture calm, movements deliberate. "Sorry," she said quickly. "Didn't mean to intrude." "You're not intruding," he replied without looking up. "This place needs more people who appreciate quiet." Naomi smiled faintly. "I was starting to think everyone here was allergic to silence." The man chuckled quietly, the sound rich but genuine. "Maybe they are, or maybe they're afraid of what silence makes them hear." She laughed softly, surprised. "That's deep for a gardener." He looked at her with amused eyes. "And you don't sound like someone who spends much time at parties." "I don't," she admitted. "To be honest, I only came because the girl who invited me would have noticed if I didn't show up. And—" she looked down at her dress, smiling shyly. "This gown isn't even mine. I borrowed it from my neighbor. She said it was almost fancy." The man smiled. "It suits you." "It doesn't fit," she laughed. "But I thought if I stayed home tonight, I'd just drown in my thoughts. My mom passed a few months ago. My dad, well, let's just say is not the kind of father you quote in bedtime stories. I came here hoping the noise would help me forget for a while." The man set his shears aside. "And has it?" "No," she said, looking at the fountain's reflection. "The louder people laugh, the more my life echoes in my head. Funny, huh?" He studied her for a long moment, impressed. "You see things most people overlook." "I see things because I've had to," she said simply. "Life teaches you to notice the cracks when you've fallen through a few." He smiled gently. "You remind me of someone I knew once." "Was she as lost as me?" He laughed quietly. "No, just as honest." She looked up at him then, eyes bright despite the sadness beneath. "You talk like someone who doesn't belong here either." "Maybe I don't," he said with a teasing grin. "Maybe I'm just pretending." Naomi chuckled. "Well, you make a good gardener. You even have the wise quotes to match." He leaned on the shears. "And you make a good philosopher in a borrowed gown." They both laughed. The sound was soft, natural, something rare amid the artificial glamour inside. The orchestra played faintly through the walls. The fountain glimmered under the lantern light. For a fleeting second, it felt like the rest of the world didn't exist. Then he asked quietly, "Do you believe in fate, Naomi?" She tilted her head, surprised he knew her name. "I used to. Now I think life's more about timing. Fate gives you the flight, but timing decides who sits beside you." He smiled, eyes twinkling. "That's wisdom beyond your years." "It's survival," she replied. "Then you survived beautifully," he said softly. She blushed, caught off guard. "You're very kind." "No," he said. "You're very real. That's rarer." They shared another quiet smile, the kind that lingers long after it ends. Then from the terrace, Selina's voice called out, bright, cheerful, and perfectly timed to break the moment. "Naomi, there you are." Naomi turned just as a man picked up his shears and walked toward the light. The crowd inside parted, cameras flashing. Selina ran forward, arms wide. "Dad!" she exclaimed. Naomi froze. Her blood turned cold as realization struck. The gardener was Victor Vaughn's star. The glass slipped from Naomi's hand and shattered on the stones. The crowd gasped. Victor smiled calmly, unfazed. "You must excuse me, everyone. Miss Brooks and I were having a fascinating conversation about life. Whispers rippled through the ballroom. Selina looked confused, Marcus smirked, and Naomi wished the night would swallow her whole. Lana Pierce, watching from above, leaned on the railing and whispered under her breath, "And so it begins." After the party, Naomi hurried outside, desperate to vanish. Then a sleek car rolled to a stop. The driver opened the back door, and there he was. "Victor, get in," he said simply. She hesitated. "Sir, I insist. It's late." Inside the car, silence stretched between them. Victor studied her. "You remind me of my late wife," he said at last. She had that same fire and that same honesty that made people uncomfortable. Naomi swallowed. "With respect, Mr. Vaughn, I don't think people like me make your world comfortable." He smiled faintly. "Good. Comfort is overrated." When they reached her neighborhood, he didn't let the driver open the door. Instead, he looked at her directly. "Dinner. Tomorrow. 7 o'clock. Naomi shook her head. "That's not non-negotiable." He handed her a card. "My driver will find you." The car pulled away before she could protest. At her apartment, Naomi replayed every moment in her head. The way Victor looked at her, not as a billionaire, but as a man intrigued by something he couldn't control. She told herself it was just dinner, just gratitude, but part of her already knew better. Across the city, Lana poured herself a glass of wine and stared at the glowing mansion on the hill. She picked up her phone. "Marcus," she said softly when he answered, "we need to talk." "About what?" "About a girl who doesn't know where she belongs." The next evening, Victor's villa looked smaller than the estate, but no less elegant. Candlelight flickered across polished wood, and a private chef plated dishes that smelled of rosemary and citrus. Naomi sat stiffly across from him, hands in her lap. "You're tense," Victor observed. "This isn't exactly my natural habitat," she admitted. He chuckled. "Then think of it as practice." "For what?" "For a life where you stop apologizing for existing." Naomi smiled despite herself. "That's easy for you to say." Victor leaned back, watching her with quiet admiration. "You think money makes it easier. It doesn't. It just makes loneliness quieter." His tone caught her off guard. She saw, for the first time, not a billionaire, but a man carrying ghosts. They talked for hours about books, art, and loss. When dessert came, he slid a velvet box across the table. Naomi stared at it. "What is this?" "A gift, for being honest when no one else stays." She opened it. Inside was a diamond ring that caught the candlelight like fire. Her heart pounded. "Mr. Vaughn, I can't." "Victor," he corrected. "Victor, I can't accept this." He tilted his head. "Why not?" "Because I'm not for sale." He smiled slowly. "Who said anything about buying?" Her chair scraped the floor as she stood. "Thank you for dinner." He watched her go, expression unreadable. Outside, she called a taxi with shaking hands. As it drove away, the city lights blurred into tears. She thought about her mother, her father's debts, her unpaid tuition, and about the way Victor's eyes softened when he looked at her. Then she heard her mother's voice in her head. "Don't let pride starve you of blessings." Naomi told the driver to turn back. When she returned, Victor was still at the piano, playing softly. He looked up, surprised. Naomi swallowed. "The ring's too much," she said quietly. "But I want to finish school." For the first time that night, Victor smiled, genuinely. "That can be arranged." He wrote a check that would change her life. The pen scratched softly across the checkbook. Victor Vaughn tore out the page and slid it toward Naomi, his eyes calm but sincere. "For your studies," he said quietly, "and for your peace of mind." Naomi's fingers hesitated. The velvet ring box still lay unopened between them on the table. "Victor, this is too much." "It's not a gift," he replied gently. "It's a reset." Naomi used the money wisely. She paid her overdue tuition, replaced her worn shoes, and rented a small but elegant apartment near the university. Its windows caught the evening sun, painting the room gold. For the first time in years, she felt safe, She decorated the place herself, hammered-down furniture, thrift curtains, a small potted plant on the windowsill. Each touch reminded her that she had built this on honesty, not luck. When Selina visited for the first time, she stopped in the doorway, smiling wide. "Naomi, this is beautiful." Naomi laughed. "It's tiny." "It's perfect," Selina said, looking around. "Cozy, calm, and you have sunlight. My father's mansion doesn't even feel this warm." They both laughed. Then, more softly, Selina added, "Since Mom died, I haven't seen him this alive. I think you remind him of what has been missing, peace." Naomi's cheeks warmed. "Selina, he's just being kind. He probably just feels sorry for me." Selina shook her head. "No, my father doesn't pity people. He respects them, and he respects you." A few days later, Victor arrived unannounced. Naomi was washing dishes when the doorbell rang. She opened the door to find him standing there in a tailored gray suit, holding a basket of wine and fresh bread. "Housewarming gift," he said, smiling. "May I come in?" She nodded, flustered. "Of course. I just didn't expect." "A billionaire in your doorway," he teased. She laughed. "Something like that." "A billionaire in your doorway," he teased. She laughed. "Something like that." He looked around the apartment, taking in the simplicity. "You've made this feel like home." Naomi shrugged. "I just needed a place where I can hear myself think." Victor nodded approvingly. "Peace is underrated. People chase wealth when they should chase quiet." Selina arrived shortly after, carrying dessert. The three of them shared dinner around Naomi's small table, the atmosphere light and genuine. They talked about books, travel, and simple joys. Victor listened more than he spoke, watching Naomi's animated expressions with quiet admiration. At one point, Selina caught his gaze and smiled knowingly. "Dad, stop looking at her like that." Victor blinked. "Like what?" "Like you're hearing your favorite song for the first time." Naomi blushed furiously while Victor chuckled softly. "You become far too perceptive, young lady." "It's hereditary," Selina shot back, grinning. Meanwhile, at Vaughan Global Headquarters, Lana Pierce sat behind her sleek desk, scrolling through social media posts. One photo caught her eye. Victor laughing, arm loosely around Selina and Naomi during a charity event. Her jaw tightened. She zoomed in on Naomi's smile. "So this is the girl," she muttered. "The saint with borrowed shoes." A junior assistant entered with documents. "Miss Pierce, should I forward the media queries about Mr. Vaughan's appearance?" Lana's smile was faint, calculated. "No, I'll handle his image myself. Personally." When the assistant left, she leaned back, eyes cold. Let's see how pure she really is. Weeks passed. Naomi's life found rhythm again. Studying by day, dinners with Selina on weekends, quiet visit from Victor in between. They walked through parks, discussed philosophy and family, and sometimes just sat in silence that spoke louder than words. One evening, as they strolled along the harbor, Victor said softly, "You remind me of my late wife." As weeks became months, Victor grew more insistent. "You shouldn't be alone in that little apartment. Move into the estate. We have space, peace, everything you need." Naomi hesitated. "People will talk." "They already are," he said calmly. "Let them. Truth speaks last." Selina chimed in, laughing. "Come on, Naomi. We could finally have late-night movie marathons without the drive." Naomi sighed, torn between pride and gratitude. "Just for a while," she said finally, "until I finish my exams." Victor smiled. "Good. The house will feel alive again." Lana's smile at the office didn't reach her eyes anymore. She watched as Naomi began appearing in society photos beside Victor, always modest, never flaunting, but unmistakably glowing. Lana began to plant seeds quietly, whispers among staff, subtle leaks to gossip sites. She met with old reporters over coffee, dropping vague lines. "The boss seems distracted. People change when love clouds judgment." At first, the stories were mild, almost flattering. Then came the darker ones, anonymous claims of Victor's drinking habits, old gambling debts, alleged manipulation by a young woman. Naomi found one headline on her phone late at night. Asterisk Victor Vaughn's new obsession, angel or ambition. Asterisk. She stared at the screen, heart heavy, but instead of panic, she prayed silently, calmly. Then she texted Victor, "Don't let the noise change who you are. We know the truth." He replied minutes later, "The noise won't, but your faith might change everything." The next morning, at breakfast, Victor looked at Naomi and Selena. The sunlight through the glass windows painted everything in gold. "I built my world on numbers and power," he said. "But lately, I wake up and realize I trade all of it for mornings like this." Naomi smiled softly. "Then we'll just make sure there are more mornings." Selena leaned back, eyes bright. "Dad, she's good for you." Victor looked at her. "You think so?" Selena nodded. "Mom would have liked her. She has the same kind of calm that fills a room without needing to speak." Naomi swallowed hard, touched. "That means more than you know." For the first time in years, Victor laughed, freely, deeply, the kind of laughter that heals instead of hides. And from the far corner of the room, where Lana stood pretending to take notes, her eyes darkened. Behind her polite smile, a storm was gathering. She may have his laughter now, Lana thought, but I'll take everything else. The Vaughn mansion stood in uneasy silence. For weeks, laughter had filled its holes, but now whispers had replaced warmth. Outside, reporters camped at the gates. Inside, shadows crept through marble corridors like secrets waiting to be told. It began with headlines. Small at first, speculative columns in digital tabloids. Asterisk, is Victor Vaughn losing his edge? Asterisk, business mogul sudden change of behavior raises questions. Asterisk, then the rumors turned personal. Anonymous sources claimed Victor was drinking again. Others hinted that a mysterious young woman had clouded his judgment. At breakfast one morning, Naomi scrolled through the articles, her stomach twisting. "Victor, you can't just ignore this." Across the table, Victor folded his newspaper calmly. "If I respond, I feed them. If I ignore them, they starve." Selena glanced between them. "Dad, they're twisting everything. They are saying you're losing control because of Naomi." Victor met her eyes. "If they are talking about me, they are not talking about the company. That's the only battle worth fighting." Naomi's voice was soft. "You don't deserve this." He smiled faintly. "I've been in this world long enough to know. Success always breeds fiction." But when Naomi left the room, Victor's hand trembled slightly as he reached for his coffee. He was worried, not for himself, but for the girl whose kindness had started to mean more than he could admit. That night, Naomi returned late from the university library. The mansion was dim, the corridors quiet. As she passed the study, she froze. Lana Pierce was waiting, standing in the doorway like a shadow sculpted from moonlight. "Working late?" Lana asked, voice smooth as silk. Naomi tried to smile politely. "I was studying." Lana stepped closer. "You've been busy. Classes, dinners, charity events, cozy walks with Mr. Vaughn. You've settled in nicely." Naomi's heart thudded. "If you have something to say, say it." "Oh, I will." Lana's eyes glittered. "You've already taken enough from this family. Leave while you still have your dignity." Naomi stiffened. "You mistake kindness for ambition." Lana's lips curved. "No, I mistake ambition for poison. And you, my dear, are venom in silk." Naomi's voice shook but stayed firm. "You don't scare me." "You should." Lana leaned closer, whispering, "I know about your father. The debts, the drinking, the gambling. It would take one phone call to remind the world where you really came from." Naomi's chest tightened. "You'd hurt innocent people just to make me leave." "Innocence is a luxury," Lana murmured, "and I don't believe you can afford it." Naomi turned away, refusing to show fear. "If you think lies can destroy truth, you'll learn they burn both ways." Lana watched her leave, the faintest smile twisting her mouth. "We'll see." A week later, Lana sat in a smoky downtown bar across from a disheveled man clutching a glass of cheap whiskey, Naomi's father. "She thinks she's better than you now," Lana said softly, sliding an envelope of cash across the table. "Don't you think the world should hear your story?" He laughed bitterly. "She left me. Never even calls. What do you want me to say?" "Just the truth," Lana purred. "That Victor Vaughn ruined your family. That he used your daughter to clean his image." He frowned. "That's not true. Truth is flexible when money's involved." The man hesitated. The cash glinted under the bar's dim lights. Finally, he took it. 2 days later, a gossip site released a video. Naomi's father, drunk, ranting about Vaughn buying his daughter. It went viral within hours. When Victor saw it, his jaw clenched. "Get me her father's address," he ordered his assistant. Naomi tried to stop him. "Please, don't. He's not himself. Lana's behind this. I know it." Victor softened. "Then we'll handle it together." Selena agreed. "We all know you, Naomi. Don't let this trash get to you." For a while, their unity held the storm back. But Lana wasn't finished. "Everyone needs a fall from grace," Lana whispered her accomplice, the young butler, nervous and sweating. She slid him a photo of Victor's late wife's diamond necklace. "You'll take this from the safe and hide it in Miss Brooks's room. Then make an anonymous call. You will be well compensated." The man swallowed hard. "And if I'm caught?" "You won't be," she said, "because she will." That weekend, Selena arranged a short family getaway at Victor's lakeside villa. "No reporters, no drama," she said brightly. "Just us." The first night was perfect. Bonfire by the lake, laughter echoing into the dark. Naomi felt at peace. She even caught Victor smiling at her across the firelight. For a moment, everything felt right. Until the next morning. Police cars rolled up the long driveway, lights flashing red and blue. Officers stepped out, stern-faced. "Mr. Vaughn," one said, "we received a report of stolen property from your estate. A diamond necklace belonging to your late wife." Victor's eyes widened. "That's impossible." The officer turned. "Miss Naomi Brooks, we have reason to believe you may have information regarding its whereabouts." Naomi froze. "What?" "No." A maid approached, trembling. "So, we found something in her luggage." Everyone turned. The necklace glittered in a clear evidence bag. Gasps filled the air. Selena stepped forward. "This can't be true. She'd never." Victor's expression faltered between disbelief and heartbreak. "Naomi." Naomi's eyes brimmed with tears. "I don't know how it got there." "Victor, please, you have to believe me." Lana, standing at the back, folded her arms and whispered just loud enough for others to hear. "Some lessons come with diamonds attached." The police led Naomi away. Victor's hand twitched, wanting to reach for her, but pride and confusion held him still. Her last word before the car door closed cut through him like a blade. "Don't believe what you see. Believe who I am." The media devoured the scandal. Asterisk Victor Vaughn betrayed by his lover. Asterisk billionaire's family heirloom stolen. Asterisk. In a dim office downtown, Lana watched the news, sipping champagne. To truth, she toasted mockingly, or whatever version of it sells. Across town, Victor sat alone in his study, the lights off, the necklace photograph on his desk. Rain lashed the windows. Selena entered quietly. "Dad, you know she didn't do this." Victor didn't look up. "I want to believe that." "Then believe it," Selena said firmly. "You've trusted worse people for less reason." He closed his eyes. Memories of Naomi's laughter, her honesty, her calm voice, they filled the silence like ghosts. He finally reached for his phone. "Detective Moore," he said when the line connected. "I need a private investigation. Quietly. If I've been blind this long, it's time I opened my eyes." Outside, lightning split the sky. The rain fell harder. And somewhere in a cold holding cell, Naomi Brooks whispered a prayer into the darkness, not for rescue, but for truth. The rain had stopped by dawn, leaving a pale silver light hanging over the city. Inside his study, Victor Vaughn sat motionless, eyes fixed on the empty whiskey glass before him. He hadn't slept in 2 days. Every headline, Every accusation, every memory of Naomi's tearful face haunted him. Selina entered quietly, carrying a folder. "Detective Moore sent this," she said. "You should see it." Victor opened it slowly. Inside were photos, grainy surveillance images, bank transfer records, phone logs. His heart hammered as he read the investigator's notes. Funds traced from Lana Pierce's account to household employee Harold Dempsey. The name made him freeze. "The butler," he whispered. "She used him." Selina nodded, her eyes fierce. "They found him trying to sell the necklace to a jeweler. It was a sting operation." Victor stood abruptly. "Where is he now?" "Custody. He confessed everything." Selina's voice softened. "She framed Naomi. Dad, it was all Lana." Victor closed his eyes, his jaw trembling. "God help me. I almost believed she could do it." Detective Moore met Victor at the precinct later that morning. The air smelled of burnt coffee and wet paper. "She's been moving company money for months," Moore said, tapping the files. "Offshore accounts, kickbacks, and she's behind the media leaks about your gambling and drinking." Victor nodded grimly. "Bring her in." The detective hesitated. "She's clever, Mr. Vaughn. She'll run." Victor's gaze was cold. "Then we'll cut off her roads." As he left the station, cameras flashed, reporters shouting questions. Victor ignored them, sliding into the waiting car. His mind was already on one person. Naomi looked small behind the glass partition. Her eyes were red but unbroken. When Victor entered, she almost didn't look up. "I'm sorry," he said softly. She swallowed hard. "For what? For doubting me, or for letting her win?" He winced. "Both." Naomi's fingers tightened around the phone. "I told you, Victor, I didn't steal anything." "I know," he said firmly, "and I'm going to prove it." The man who planted the necklace confessed. Tears welled in her eyes. "Then why am I still here?" "Because the system moves slower than justice," he replied. "But I promise you, it's coming." They stared at each other through the glass. Victor raised his hand to the partition. Naomi mirrored it. Their palms met across the barrier. "Hold on," he whispered. "We're almost through the storm." 3 days later, the Vaughn Global building was surrounded by flashing lights. Detectives swarmed through glass doors, shouting orders. Lana Pierce, poised and immaculate as always, stepped out of her office with a calm smile. "Can I help you?" "Lana Pierce," a detective said. "You're under arrest for theft, fraud, and obstruction of justice." "For the FI." She blinked, pretending surprise. "There must be a mistake." Victor appeared in the doorway behind the officers, flanked by Selina. His voice was ice. "No mistake." IST time, Lana's mask slipped. "You destroy your own company's reputation just to defend that girl." Victor stepped closer. "That girl saved me from the lies you built." The officers led her out past the flashing cameras. The world finally saw the villain she'd been. By evening, Naomi was released. The air outside the station smelled of rain and freedom. Selina was waiting, arms wide open. Naomi broke into tears as they hugged. "You believe me." Selina smiled. "Always." Victor approached slowly, his face lined with exhaustion and relief. "You were right about everything." Naomi looked up at him. "You fought for me." "I almost lost the one honest thing left in my life," he said. "Never again." He reached into his coat pocket and handed her a small velvet pouch. Inside was a restored necklace, the one that had caused so much pain. "I don't need it," she said. "I do," he replied quietly, "to remind me that the brightest diamonds are forged under pressure." Naomi smiled softly. "Then we've both been tested." He nodded. "And survived." A week later, Victor held a press conference at Vaughn Global's headquarters. Cameras flashed, reporters leaned forward. He stood at the podium, Selina and Naomi beside him. "Months ago," Victor began, "a lie nearly destroyed what I hold most dear, my family, my integrity, and the woman who reminded me what truth feels like." He paused, glancing at Naomi. Naomi Brooks is innocent. She was framed by a trusted employee whose deceit ran deep. Justice has been served." The room erupted in applause. Victor took Naomi's hand openly for the first time. Outside, headline shifted. Asterisk Naomi Brooks vindicated. Asterisk. Asterisk Victor Vaughn exposes internal fraud. Asterisk. Asterisk truth wins in the end. Asterisk. Selena hugged them both, whispering, "Mom would have been proud. You gave this house back its peace." Victor smiled at his daughter. "And you gave me back my courage." Months later, spring returned to the Vaughn estate. Lanterns swayed gently in the evening breeze, and the scent of roses filled the garden. It was the same place Naomi had once stood in a borrowed gown, feeling invisible. Now she walked beneath the archway in white, radiant and sure. Selena wiped tears as she adjusted Naomi's veil. "You look perfect." Naomi laughed softly. "Perfect is overrated. I'll settle for happy." Victor waited beneath the arch, his eyes soft, his heart finally unguarded. When Naomi reached him, he whispered, "The garden suits you better than any ballroom." She smiled. "It's where everything started." As they exchanged vows, sunlight slipped behind the clouds, casting a warm glow over the guests. When Victor kissed her, applause rippled through the crowd, mingling with laughter and the rustle of wind through the trees. Selena raised her glass. To truth, to love, and to second chances. Naomi looked at Victor, eyes glistening. "We found all three." They danced slowly as the sky turned gold, their shadows entwined across the grass. In that moment, the world that had once judged them stood silent, and love, tested by fire, stood unbroken. In a world where wealth could buy anything, love proved the only treasure worth keeping. Asterisk.